June 1. 67 B.C. Judapata, in Judea, captured by the Romans under Vespasian, on the 1st of Panemus, in the 13th year of Nero. The city was demolished, entombing 40,000 Jews, the number of slain. 1205. Henry Dandolo, Duke of Venice, died. He was a brave admiral, who took Constantinople, 1203, and had the moderation to refuse the imperial dignity. 1204. Rouen, the capital of Normandy, conquered by the French, which with the duchy had been separated from France for 300 years. 1450. Jack Cage Rebellion broke out in England. 1533. Anne Boleyn crowned Queen of England. 1571. Drive John Story, an unrelenting persecutor of the Protestants, was executed at Tyburn. On the accession of Elizabeth he fled to Flanders, and used all the influence he possessed to injure the trade of his native country. 1572. Ovid's elegies burned at Stationers' Hall by the order of the Bishops of Canterbury and London. 1572. Thomas, Duke of Norfolk, executed for high treason. He was the first subject in England by rank, and the qualities of his mind corresponded with his high station. He fell a victim to love and ambition, in attempting to marry Mary Stuart. 1593. Christopher Marlowe, an English dramatist and poet, murdered in an affray. He was accounted an excellent poet in his time. 1603. A man was whipped through London for going to court when his house was infected by plague. In this visitation 30,244 persons died. James I, to avoid this plague, retired to Wilton. 1638. Earthquake in New England. It occurred in the afternoon, and was so violent as to shake down movable articles in houses, and formed a memorable epoch in the annals of the country. 1660. Mary Dyer executed. She was a Quakeress, who had been banished from Massachusetts, and on her return was sentenced to death for rebellious sedition and obtruding herself after banishment on pain of death. 1666. Great naval action between the Dutch under De Ruyter and Tromp, and English Prince Rupert, which continued 4 days with great fury, and the victory was claimed by both parties. 1679. Graham of Claverhouse defeated by the Scottish Covenanters at Drumclog, Scotland. 1740. Samuel Werenfels, a Swiss professor and author, died, respected for his learning and many virtues. 1743. Robert Le Lorraine, a celebrated French sculptor, died. 1764. The French carried off all the inhabitants of Turk's Island, in the West Indies, with 9 English vessels. 1769. Edward Holyoake, president of Harvard College, died. An excellent mathematician and natural philosopher. 1774. Boston Port Bill went into operation. Business closed at noon, and the harbor was shut against all vessels. The citizens, on a short notice of 20 days, were deprived of the means of gaining a subsistence. Contributions were raised in other cities for their relief, and the inhabitants of Marblehead offered the merchants the use of their wharves. Universal indignation spread through the colonies against this high-handed measure of the British King and Parliament. 1780. American privateer Pickering, 16 guns, Captain Harry Dunn, captured British ship, Golden Eagle, 22 guns. 1783. Charles Byrne, the Irish giant, died. His height was 8 feet 2 inches. See May 13, 1781, Roger Byrne. 1785. John Adams, the first minister of the United States of America to England, was presented to the king. 1791. The United States Army under Jinchaz Scott entered the Kickapoo villages, on the Wabash, and taking the Indians by surprise, exterminated their villages. Killed and took many prisoners. He returned without the loss of a man killed by the enemy. These savages committed great depredations on the frontiers, and refused all terms of peace. 1792. Kentucky admitted into the Union with the consent of Virginia. 1793. The armed Parisians again assembled with cannon around the convention, and demanded the arrest of the Brissotin party. The decree of accusation was passed. 1793. The death of Richard Crutwell, the well-known editor of the Bath Chronicle, took place at Cheltenham, England. 1794. Action between the French fleet, 26 ships of the line, under Joyeuse, and the British fleet, 25 ships, under Lord Howe. Loss. 1795. Peter Joseph Dassault, a noted French surgeon, died. 1796. Tennessee admitted into the Union. 1797. Desperate engagements between an Algerine cruiser of 18 guns, well manned, and a Corsican frigate of 26 9 and 12-pounders. The morning, and was continued with unremitted obstinacy until 3 in the afternoon, when a sloop and cutter coming up, the frigate was towed off in a disabled condition, and the pirate being completely riddled, they fired in the magazine, and blew themselves up. The Algerine had a number of Christian captives on board, and was commanded by Sidney Bedder, the terror of the Spanish coast. 1805. Detroit destroyed by fire. The houses on 25 streets were consumed. 16 persons lost their lives, and the cattle, generally shared the same fate. 1807. Nice, a Prussian fortress in Silesia, taken by the French under Jerome Bonaparte, with 3,000 prisoners, and about 300 cannon. 1811. William Eaton, an American general, died, celebrated for his heroic achievements in the expedition against Tripoli, 1798. 1813. Action between the United States frigate Chesapeake, 36 guns, Captain Lawrence, 2 days out from Boston, with a raw crew, and British frigate Shannon, 38 guns, and a picked crew. The Chesapeake was captured, with the loss of Captain Lawrence and 146 killed and wounded, British loss 84. 1815. Alexander Berthier, a distinguished French officer, killed. He served in America during the Revolutionary War, and afterwards signalized his talents and bravery under Bonaparte, who placed unlimited confidence in him. 1832. Thomas Sumter, a distinguished officer of the Revolution, died, aged 97. 1833. René Savory, Duke of Rovigo, died, one of the ministers of France under Bonaparte. 1833. Oliver Wolcott died, a statesman under Washington, and 10 years successively a governor of Connecticut. 1833. Cholera broke out at Lexington, Kentucky, number of deaths to August 1, 502. 1835. Odo, king of Greece, his minority having ended, ascended the throne at Athens, with appropriate ceremonies. 1839. Port Gibson, Mississippi, destroyed by fire. 1841. David Wilkie, an excellent Scottish painter, died at Gibraltar, on his return from Egypt, aged 56. He was the author of many celebrated works in his profession. 1843. Drive James Hagan, a native of Ireland, but for several years a citizen of the United States, fell in a street fight in Vicksburg, Mississippi, provoked by the violence of his language as an editor. 1846. Pope Gregory XVI died. His pontificate was 15 years. 1846. A convention of delegates to revise the Constitution of New York met at Albany. 1847. The steamer Washington, first of the Collins or American Line, sailed from New York. 1848. Defeat of the Danes by the Germans. 1852. A submarine telegraph wire coated with gutta percha was laid across the channel, from Holyhead, a distance of 80 miles, by which telegraphic communication was completed from London to Dublin. 1854. 4 British steamers attacked and destroyed the ships, dockyards and stores at Uleaborg. 1854. Emily Chubbuck, widow of Adoniram Judson, died at Hamilton, New York. Better known as Fanny Forrester, an accomplished woman, and a writer of considerable celebrity. 1855. The Republic of Nicaragua issued a manifesto, proclaiming martial law and prohibiting the adventurers Kinney and Fabens, on pain of death from entering the Republic for any cause.